more. This next piece, I'm just gonna run through it. The books in the back. Oh, a lot of great poets. As an editor, you get to brag a lot about the books that you do because it's not really your stuff. Even though I do have a piece in it, but there's a lot of great poets from Mahmoud Darwish to Amiri Baraka, Naim Shahab Nai, and Suhair Ahmad. We have a lot of great voices from the Arab hip-hop that's coming out of the community and also spoken word. So check it out if you can. All the proceeds go to charity. It's a non-profit project to highlight the Arab arts in the U.S. This next poem, it's really hard for me to do any set without doing a poem for Iraq. I mean, I'm a Palestinian, but I'm a human being, and that's what keeps driving me forward. It's not about my ethnicity, it's not about where I'm from. As much as I love, the olive trees in the old city, it's about justice, human rights, and equality. So this was written for an Arab American, I know. Iraq has a $79 billion surplus. We've spent more than $1 trillion on this war. More than 4,000 of our troops have died. God knows how many are coming back limbless. Others with post-traumatic stress disorder. This is not making us safer. This is not within our interests. This is what he says to me. An Arab American, an American Arab, an American who happens to be Arab. I look back at him. I'm not some mainstream CNN producer, and 3 Iraqis have died since our conversation started. I'm not an American. I'm a human being. I don't write poems about Kevlar vests or Yasol tours, and don't get me wrong, I support the troops. The ones in Iraq, Palestine, Afghanistan, Northern Ireland, South Africa, and Birmingham, and none of their bullets fit in guns. They've written poetry and music and literature an oppressor could never dream of. I do. I feel bad that I can afford my second iPhone, but I've yet to hear you utter that more than 1 million Iraqis have been slaughtered in this war, that their $79 billion surplus can't get them electricity or stability, that the surge has failed. Baghdad has been cleansed of Sunnis and more than 5 million have been made refugees. I'm sorry that you can't afford your cross-country road trip because gas costs too much money and the US dollar can't get you past Go and Monopoly. We wrap ourselves around 50 stars and lapel pins while civilians in occupied nations die because of our policy. And if that makes me anti-American, hood me, rip me from my home, and waterboard me in a Guantanamo prison, I'm not looking for the American dream or your silly notion of exceptionalism. You think because you love a country, it excuses jingoism. Your so-called rights and interests matter more than the countless deaths of others. And you know what? I'm not going to call you a sellout or Arab Uncle Tom. I'm going to call you what you are, a shitty human being, one that chides the rights, invokes civil movements, all while taking step backwards. Yes, Iraq has cost us $1 trillion, but there's no currency to replace your thirst for hegemony. I'm not an American. I'm a human being. And if that's so hard for you to stomach, maybe you should have a plane ticket with your frequent flyer miles and move the hell out of my country. Two more quick ones. I don't want to use all the time that I have, because I don't want to end on a poem that's angrier than that poem, and that's what I'm going to do. So this next poem is called "What Are You?" and it kind of picks up on that universality. Like, it's not. I just happen to be a Palestinian. People always say to me, "Well, why aren't you fighting, for issues in Latin America or in Africa?" And I say because my friends are smarter than I am. I've been lucky to hear the stories that I've had from my grandparents who are refugees from '48, and I'm lucky enough to be able to fight for people through this cultural medium the best way that I know how, who unfortunately are being bombarded with our tax dollars. So this next poem is called "What Are You?" I'm proud to be a Palestinian, but not for reasons that make me believe in jingoistic ideals of patriotism. I don't sign my life away for the birth of a nation, but for the justification of indigenous people to live, free to decide what to make of their lives. Palestine and South Africa, Rwanda, Iraq, the Armenian genocide, and yes, the Holocaust. Because if I lose sight of Jewish suffering, then I become nothing but a reflection of the Israeli state, a propagandist driven on hate of the other, placated by ideologies of exclusivity. I don't just love the colors of some flag, or even the olive trees in the old city. I love what Palestine makes me feel: anger, pain, and sadness, hope, and perseverance. I love that I wake up every morning knowing that I'm a writer, poet, and dreamer, and watered down versions of what society and respectability should be won't change my mentality, because it's not a society I want to be a part of. I'm a Palestinian. Nobody can take that away from me. Not identity cards or refugee status or security apparatuses restricting my movement, and I'll come back stronger than any Zionist entity, but not for ethnocentric liberty, but for peace based on equality. I'm a Palestinian. What are you? Every time I think of 9/11, I see burning flesh stripping off the bones of Iraqi children in Fallujah, now Gaza. I tend to memorialize the forgotten, the eclipsing collateral damage of our unpunished crimes, and maybe it's because I'm a numbers guy. Because if I had $1 for every time an Iraqi died since 2003, I'd be a millionaire. And don't get me wrong, sometimes I don't know who to hate more. The governments in the West or the politicians in the East who sell their souls quicker than the oil they export. Strong men who use Palestine as a tool to line their pockets and don't give a nickel to their people. Quisling governments who stitch mouths shut for a check from Washington and APEC. How can you be their prototypical anti-Semite if you're signing peace accords to oppress your own people? And then Orientalists and idiots talk about how we can't have democracy in the Middle East because of what happened in Gaza. A Hamas boogeyman wrapped in democratic elections. Rahm Emanuel wants to educate me and my people about democracy gone wrong. Why doesn't he try implementing one in Israel first, instead of bowing down to terrorists like his father in the IDF, lauding a third-rate racist European society that's imploding quicker than its moral standing in the world, enlightened like 1950s Afrikaners and slave traders? Just because the house is beautiful doesn't mean the bones you built it on have fully decomposed. The Israeli left is about as alive as Ariel Sharon. I'm sick and tired of asking for permission to resist from antiquated leftists and progressives who care more about keeping it kosher than moving things forward. I put down my pen and waving fist to resist with college kids and Palestinians. Boycott and divest, because who cares about preserving a living when governments are killing civilians? Complicity by silence when reserve units bombing Gaza. Your academics and scholars, theater groups and practitioners are part of the problem. And if that doesn't fit into your long-term plan of rejecting my right to return, I'm sorry. Maybe one day you'll return to reality where my people have babies quicker than Zionists can concoct Jordanian options. I'm not looking for your sympathy or introspective confessions. Won't sit on my hands till they lose oxygen. Like the people of Balad and Rafah, vote for Barack Obama and pretend that his 22 days of silence was golden, while emaciated children starve to death surrounded by their parents' corpses. This can't be America the Beautiful. A criminal with a few positive attributes doesn't alleviate genocide. Bombing Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Iraq doesn't make you historic. It makes you as blind and bloodthirsty as the white men that came before you. Apathetic hipsters now excited about a president who broke history but not poverty, occupation, or corporate interests. I'd rather proudly walk through the graveyard of peace accords and failed dialogue sessions than keep seeing my people just as occupied or third-class citizens. We're the gavel that'll slam down like a verdict. I'm not waiting for Israel or America or the Supreme Court to approve it. We'll boycott Lev Leviav, Caterpillar, and your apartheid companies. We're taking back the right of return and keys to a country because we never asked you to go back to Europe or sit in open-air prisons. I'm not asking for your advice. I'm explaining the decision. You can stay here with us, but only as equals. It's not that you're Israeli. It's that you're wrong. That's why I fight for my people.